talked about I Hate Heroes, but today I am going to talk about Zicaryn Civil War, which is the prequel to that one. And Zicaryn Civil War is a rough, but it's a very fun story because it's just about, honestly, if you sum it up, it's about these two boys becoming friends in the sake of hardship and war. Yeah. So we have our two main characters. We have Reiki and Rebus. And Reiki is that gung-ho spirit. I want to learn everything. I want to prove myself and go on adventures. And then Rebus is a prince who doesn't want all of this responsibility, but has to. And he is the last surviving Zicaryn royalty. This is stuff like literally said right off the bat in the story, basically. And the whole story is really just about how does Rebus survive being, what's it called? How does Rebus survive being the sole survivor and also being hunted by those that were killing the royalty? So, it's almost like, who can get to Rebus first, and then can we protect Rebus once we have him from Reiki's side, and then the other side just wants the Zicaryn royalty to end, so let's see where that goes. And yeah, it's a fairly simplistic story, to be honest. I don't know if it will be a full-length novel. That one might be a novella, just because I don't want to overload it with content. The point is to just get that part of the story out there, and it's not part of any other specific story. The only way to make it like longer than a novella would be to include some other point of views, which I thought about doing Yoros, but I'm not entirely sure if that is going to be my goal, because I might tell Yoro's story in his own standalone book that follows his story throughout the ages. And I don't know, I feel like that might work, but it might be cool to have inserts of him, just because he'll bring a more mature perspective, but that's where it gets iffy. If I tell it from the boys' perspective, they're in their teen years. If I tell it from Yoro's perspective, well, he's a lot older, so it does change the potential content in the book, which is why I decided his chapters need to be separate in Galactic War 1, and I'm thinking they might also need to be separate in all of the stories, so that way, yes, I'm telling Yoro's story. It's not technically necessary because you'll get it through the eyes of other characters, but I like the idea that the main story, the more important plot points, can be to a wider audience, so like that it can be PG, because that's something that's really cool about like Star Wars, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. Yeah, it does cater to an adult audience, and it does cater to like teen audience, but even kids can watch it and grow up with it, and that's kind of the world I want to build, which is why I tend to try to write more middle grade YA, those genres, just because I want it to be digestible by a wider audience. Yes, it'll have those things in there that obviously only adults will understand, like Avatar: The Last Airbender does it. We got She-Ra, Owl House. Like, there's so many things that just kids can latch on to the wonder and the fun characters, the fun story. Oh yeah, they're doing cool things, like, obviously, and then you can get more of the nuances and enjoy the story again and again. Like growing up with Star Wars, when I was younger, I didn't quite understand a lot of what was like really happening and behind the scenes, like, and little nuances with the characters and the plot. But I can rewatch them, and I rewatched them later, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's way more to this, and I think that is super fun, and it gives you more and more ways to engage with the content and have fun with it. So like with Zicaryn Civil War, I don't have like much plot to necessarily discuss, and I believe it is all plotted out. It's pretty much just them on an adventure trying to be safe and navigating the collapse of a society, at least from Revis's perspective. From Reiki's perspective, he just wants to complete his mission properly and then learns what it really means to try to help people and go on that kind of hero's journey in a way. So that's because like the Zicaryns are they built up an empire in the times of Galactic War 1. They became smaller, but they're still existing and they're still trying to expand. They're just constantly trying to take over. It's just the thing that they do. So obviously there's going to be more nuances and reasons to that, but we'll dive into details one day. But yeah, I think it would be cool, and talking it out after this, I think the Reiki and Revis like plot line should just be them, just a dual point of view novella. And if I happen to get more content for it to become a full-length novel, awesome. But otherwise, it'll be them. So that way, because I also, something that I don't like is when they take the more mature stories and then they dumb them down just so kids can watch them. I think there are times in Star Wars where they could have made it rated R and it might have been a better story. And it's okay, you just can't let kids watch that one. They can experience it later after they've fallen in love with these characters as a kid and the magic and the world. They will have still more to experience when they get older. And I don't think there's a problem in that. I mean, the problem is that sometimes parents will understand that just because in this franchise this movie was PG, this other one is not. Like the case of Deadpool, like Deadpool is very much rated R, but like a lot of kids I know were in the theater when I went and watched it, and I was like, huh, alright. I mean, you choose what you choose for your children, but like, I also know that sometimes ratings are inaccurate or whatever, but it makes it difficult. But just that understanding, because I know walking that line can be difficult. But if it's separated in the books, it's easier to separate it in the movies, or maybe the movies just can't be PG, but at least the books can be. If you know what I mean? I don't know. It's this nuanced line, and also deciding, like, honestly, Yoro's story could probably, it doesn't need to be rated R. That one could be PG-13, but like just to have that contrast and understanding of where I'm thinking and going with this. Because yeah, a kid might be like, oh, that's in the same universe, it's a sci-fi story. Yeah, of course I want to read it, and then they read it and then they're scarred for life because they read it much too young. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. But also, like, in terms of point of view, it sometimes, because then there's like Ender's Game. That's kind of what I was doing with Zicaryn Civil War, was I was inspired by Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is interesting. These young kids doing all of these insane things, and then sometimes you get little excerpts from the adults. So that was kind of the idea at first, and it might still be the idea. It still might be the right way to go, depending on how the writing goes, because right now there are excerpts of Yoro in it, and they make sense, but it's just, again, walking this fine line of what I decide to do with the story. But that is Zicaryn Civil War, or branching more and more into these stories. I honestly don't remember which ones I've gone over now. But hopefully soon I can get some different kind of content. And if you are early on this channel, you will know that there are no thumbnails or anything. I am aware. I just haven't had time, and I decided I just wanted to start putting out the videos, because if I just don't publish them, I never will, and they'll get lost in my camera roll. So that is why, in case you were curious. But with that, I will sign off today and say see you later. See you in the next one. Bye.